Let me tell you a story. This is the story of how someone tricked the world into buying a brand. Let me explain. This is Tommy Hilfiger. Now, over time, most people came to know him through his clothing line. But what if I told you Tommy didn't build a clothing brand? He built an illusion and the world bought it. No, seriously, this isn't clear. If you look at the timeline, it becomes clear that Tommy didn't gain fame by designing the best clothes or making the coolest threads. He simply convinced the world that he already was a star before he actually became one. You heard that right. Now, why is that important? Well, because here's another guy. This is Russell Simmons. Simmons once said, "You can't be successful doing things that other people are doing." Yet that's exactly what Tommy did. He didn't come from a rich family. He didn't have any contacts in the industry. He wasn't a renowned tailor. He wasn't famous. He wasn't proven. He was just a kid who had one dream. And yet somehow he made people believe he was destined to become the next big thing. And he did that without having anything to prove himself first. This is fascinating because it reveals the secrets behind Tommy's success. And it'll help us understand something deeper about the world. Let's take a closer look. Back in 1984, Tommy worked for a manufacturer called Hilfiger. His dream was to launch his own clothing line. So he quit his job and he teamed up with his friend George Lois. Now, George wasn't just anyone. He was a marketing legend. He helped brands like Revlon, IBM, and Pepsi become icons. And together, Tommy and George formed an unlikely duo. Tommy, the fresh-faced designer, and George, the grizzled marketing veteran. Together, they hatched a plan that changed everything. In 1985, nobody knew Tommy's name. There were dozens of clothing brands out there, but his was just one more among many. He needed a way to stand out, to make people care. And that's when George came up with an idea. He told Tommy, "You don't want to wait 10 years to become famous. You can manufacture fame. I know how to do it." And he did. He put up a billboard. Now, not just any billboard. This was a massive billboard in Times Square. And it had a simple message. It mentioned all the biggest names in fashion at the time. Ralph Lauren, Perry Ellis, Calvin Klein. And finally, it mentioned Tommy Hilfiger. Now, here's what's interesting. Nobody in New York knew who Tommy Hilfiger was. That was the point. The mystery, the boldness, the association with Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein. It made people think that Tommy Hilfiger must already be a major name in fashion. Imagine seeing this billboard for the first time. You see these huge names that you recognize, and then below them, this guy named Tommy Hilfiger. You would assume that Tommy must already be famous. After all, why else would he be included alongside Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein? In a single sentence, he created an illusion of fame. And it was so effective that fashion critics hated it. They hated the fact that he pretended to be in the same league as Calvin Klein. But the public was confused and curious. Why does Tommy look like he's famous? Who is he? Is he really good? These questions caused a sensation. And when Tommy's new collection launched, people showed up because they felt like they already knew him. Like they should already be familiar with his work. And in reality, they weren't. All Tommy had was the billboard. That one billboard had changed everything. It had built an audience. It had given him credibility. It had made people believe in Tommy Hilfiger before he had proven himself. But this is where things get interesting because it doesn't end there. After the billboard, he went all in. Tommy appeared everywhere. Department stores, magazine covers, talk shows, music videos. He became part of the public consciousness. And with every appearance, he reinforced that illusion of fame. People began to associate him with quality and style, even though he hadn't shown them anything yet. It's like walking into a party and everyone already knows your name. You haven't done anything yet, but you feel like you're supposed to be there. That feeling is what Tommy gave people. And if we dig deeper, we realize that he didn't just trick people into thinking he was famous. He also tricked them into believing they could become like him. In a way, Tommy Hilfiger gave the illusion of opportunity. He showed people that it was possible to rise from obscurity to fame and fortune, and that was incredibly appealing. But let's rewind a bit. At the start of his career, Tommy couldn't afford to design a clothing line. He had no money. He didn't know any factories. He wasn't connected. But he did have one valuable asset. His name. When he decided to quit his job and pursue his dream, he literally had nothing to lose. Most aspiring designers go to fashion school. They build connections. They internet-establish companies. They work their way up. But Tommy didn't do that. He took a riskier path. Instead of building connections, he faked them. Instead of proving himself gradually, he announced himself. And that takes guts. Most people would have been scared to put themselves out there, to admit that he was aiming for greatness. Tommy had to overcome countless obstacles. He faced rejection from buyers, ridicule from critics, doubts from investors. But he kept going, and that audacity paid off. Tommy gained momentum. His designs became popular. His logo became recognizable. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of the action. Retailers clamored to stock his products. Magazines featured him on their covers. Collaborations came knocking, and as Tommy's empire grew, so did his influence. He became a symbol of American cool, the quintessential all-American brand. But here's the irony. As Tommy rose to fame, he still remained elusive. Despite being a household name, he maintained an air of mystery. We know about his business dealings. We know about his rise to fame. But what about Tommy himself? What makes him tick? What drives him? What are his passions? We don't know much about these things, and that's by design. Tommy has carefully cultivated this image of enigma, and it's part of the allure. It's part of the brand. But here's the takeaway. Tommy didn't wait for fame to find him. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for validation. He made it happen. And yes, he used marketing brilliance to catapult himself into the limelight. But he also had the audacity to dream big, and the courage to go after his dreams. In a world that often feels like it's rigged against ordinary people, Tommy's story offers a glimmer of hope. It shows us that if he can do it, so can we. Maybe Tommy didn't just trick the world into buying his brand. Maybe he tricked us into believing in ourselves. As I wrap up this video, I want you to remember the lesson that Tommy taught us. Reality matters, but perception builds empires. Now, I've got a challenge for you. Think about the projects you've been holding on to, the dreams you've been postponing, the goals you've been afraid to pursue. I want you to take a cue from Tommy and ask yourself, what would Tommy do? How would he approach this situation? What risks would he be willing to take? Remember, reality matters, but perception builds empires. Don't wait for fame to find you. Go out there and create it. Go out there and ask for it. Don't wait for validation. Go out there and earn it. You can do it. Now, here's what I want you to do. Share your thoughts. What do you admire about Tommy's story? What lessons have you learned from his journey? And if you want to dive deeper into the world of business and personal growth, subscribe. We've got a ton of content coming your way. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.